everybody, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Miranda and today I'm going to be discussing episode 2, 3, and 4 of Dimension 20 Fantasy High Junior Year. I am really in love with this season so far. Not surprising at all. It definitely kicked off, and I talked about this in my discussion for episode 1 in a way that I was not expecting by wrapping up the Night York arc and everything like that. So episode 2 fully finished that, and I feel like that was just a really great way to get us ingrained in kind of the bad kids mindset right now, because there was literally a point at episode 2 where I was just like tired. Like I think it was when they were finally battling them and the Night York was sealed, and then they realized that all the Night Yorbies things were still fighting them, like even though like the Night Yorb itself had been defeated. It wasn't like the minions had just like turned tail and ran. Like they were still like, no, we're gonna fight. And it was just like, really? Like it's like so exhausting. And I feel like it really did a good job of getting you into, like I said, that mindset of how just tired they are of like, you know, we did the big thing that we were supposed to do and you're telling us that there's more, and not even more, but that it's kind of inconsequential because it's like the big thing that they were fighting for is gone. Like, why don't you just turn tail and run? But it is kind of realistic in a way that, you know, maybe sometimes they would stick around and be like, no, we're still gonna fight you. And it's just tiresome. Like, I feel like even Fig just like standing there and taking the ballista that like pierced her hand or whatever was a good way of just showing that they're kind of like, what is this all for? Like, you know, we do this, we don't even really get to celebrate because one, they had to go back and basically go straight to school by the time they got back, but then also they're not really getting any reward for it in a way of like, not that they necessarily deserve a reward, but like just peace or like a break or just to get and enjoy being teenagers. So I feel like that really set it up well. But then I was also very excited for our first day back at Egg Fort, just because as much as I love the combat, like my heart will always be with like the roleplay heavy episodes. So I was really excited once we got to start those, and oh baby, once we started those, there was so much to be learned. The villain thus far that we've met is the Rat Grinders, and I literally did not even know what that name meant, but then after they like first got introduced with Kipper Lily Copper Kettle or whatever her dog name is, someone on Tumblr, I believe, it was either Tumblr or Reddit, pointed out that like they thought they were called the Rat Grinders because of that reason, because it's like they're like killing these like small things just to build up XP points, and like that's what it was for. So I have to give credit to that person, because when it came out in episode 4 that like that's what they had been doing was killing, I think they said like twig gnomes or something like that, spiders and rats, and just like leveling up of like they killed so many, I was like, that person was completely right. So it wasn't as shocking to me, because I was like, oh, I had heard of this before, but just like seeing particularly Murph's reaction, I think as someone who is like a DM and all that, I think we all can relate to that idea. And I saw someone like talk about this very well, of like just those people that use the like fairness and like bend the rules in a way of like they're all about like being fair and following the rules, but you're like, wait, but you're bending them in a way that like technically you're following the rules, but the way you're doing it is so sneaky and like just weird that it makes it so it's like icky. And I feel like that's just the vibe I've been getting from the Rat Grinders. Kipper Lily Copper Kettle right away gave me the ick. She reminded me a lot of Penelope. I know she's supposed to be like the stand-in for like Riz, because it seems like all the bad kids have a stand-in for them in the Rat Grinders, which I hate. It reminds me of like, that's such a like classic trope for like cartoons growing up that I would watch, that like it satisfies that specific itch of like, you know how like Codename Kid Next Door, they all had like a like shadow self on the bad side that was like exactly like them but the bad version. Like it really like warms that part of me that I'm like, this is what I grew up with, but it infuriates me at the same time, because it's seeing like our kids, like the bad kids who we've known and loved, like if they hadn't like gone down the path they did, and if they weren't like really good, you know, like if they were just more focused on stats and like appearances and all that than actually like being people and saving the world and stuff like that. So Riz is Kipper Lily Copper Kettle, that's his whole thing, and she technically found the Rogue Professor, but it's more like the Rogue Professor found her. So there's this whole kind of thing again of like, technically she gets to be done with her year, because the rule is like if you find the Rogue Professor, you automatically pass your classes. But she didn't find the Rogue Professor. The Rogue Professor found her. So she's already won that on a technicality, which just shows you like how they kind of operate. Then we've got Fig, who is Ruben. And Ruben, I have to say, I didn't realize this until afterwards, but I am happy to say that I at least picked up on the vibes. Ruben who has like the Song of the Summer and is like this like emo, you know, kind of bard that Fig is, he has the same last name as Henry the Artificer teacher. And people were already suspicious of Henry the Artificer teacher even before we met him, because they were saying that like the interim principal definitely seems like it got hacked, and like that would be a artificer thing to hack like a piece of technology. But then when we actually did meet him, I got super suspicious of his vibes. Again, I didn't realize that him and Ruben had the same last name until I went online afterwards and people were talking about that. But I did not like the way he was talking to Gorgo. First of all, I don't like the way that Porter or Henry has handled this whole like thing with Gorgo trying to multi-class. I feel like if you want to multi-class, you should just be able to do it. Like, I get that it's a school, but I also feel like they shouldn't be able to stop you from like, oh, just because Barbarian and Artificer don't really go hand in hand doesn't mean that like one person can't do it. Like, it just irritates me. And Porter being like, they talked about an adventuring party, but Porter being like, you hurt my feelings. Like, you should not say that to a child and like put that guilt on him, especially as a teacher. Like, that's weird. But then Henry, I just did not like the way that he was talking about Gorgug's parents, how like he was like, oh yeah, your parents are tinkers, right? And like they have a little workshop at home. Like it just sounded very condescending and kind of like, oh, I'm like a professional artificer and they're just like a hobby for them, when we know that like they're amazing, his parents. Like, they've built all this amazing stuff and this is like their livelihood. They're gonna host that fair that's coming. So like for him to just talk of like, oh, they're kind of just like secondhand, like doing a little fun stuff out there and you probably picked up on it from that, just really rubbed me the wrong way. It seems super elitist, super classist, and the fact that he's also like a new teacher has my eyebrows raised, because it's like he, maybe like Eggford didn't even like technically hire him, like maybe the robot hired him or something like that. So my suspicions are just raised all around for that, because I feel like they're really trying to screw Gorgug over this season. Like, I understand, and like they were very deliberate of explaining that like MCAT is like you're taking 150% of a course load. Like, it's not like you're like taking less of both of them and then just kind of graduating. It's like you're taking both of them. But now, because Gorgug isn't allowed to do that because Porter's being dumb, he has to take 3 classes. So that's 300 of Artificer, and then all his junior year Barbarian. So he's taking a 400% course load, I think they said. And in a way, I feel like they're just trying to make it so the bad kids have no time to do anything but class, and knowing that he has some connection to the rat grinders who hate the bad kids just for like who the bad kids are, makes me really worried for Gorgug. Like, I feel like they're just trying to make him be at school and be stretched to the limit till he breaks or something like that, and it just worries me. I feel like they're all kind of being like that, the multi-classing ones. I mean, Fabian actually seems fine. Like, the rest of the teachers seem really nice. Like, I actually really like the rest of the teachers. It's just Gorgug's that are worrying me, because they're giving him so much work and they're almost like, you can't do it any other way than this, that I feel like, yeah, they're just trying to stretch him till his limit, till he breaks, and then it's going to be like, you know how they said you can't graduate technically. Well, you can, but it's pass-fail if someone from your party dies, drops out, or switches or something like that. So I feel like they're trying to go after Gorgug first and make him like drop out or not graduate, so then the whole adventuring party has to be pass or fail or something like that. That's just my vibe that I'm getting from that. And then we also didn't meet them, but we know there's a cleric of Helio that is going to be Kristen's foil. We haven't seen Adine's at all, I don't think. I also don't know if we've seen Fabian's, but we did see Marianne, the Blood Rush girl, who was on some kind of like enhance ability thing to like somehow take them down. I want to know how she had 35 to hit Gorgug and it didn't seem like it was a natural 20. Like, there's definitely some shenanigans that they're getting up to, even more so, but I think that's because they have help, you know? I think they have like, definitely Henry, but I feel like they've got other people that maybe like are like, we're sick of the bad kids, like, I don't know, just being in charge. I don't even know, because it's like the bad kids are saving the world, like, you're just jealous, I'm sorry, you know what I mean? And then I feel like I'm missing one. We know Figs, we know Riz's, we know Gorgug's, we know Kristen's. Yeah, so I think it's just Fabian and Adine that we haven't seen or heard of. I don't think we've heard of them either. And the interesting thing is, like, they're just their first class. So, like, the bad kids, because of, like, the journeys they've gone on, a lot of them are multi-classing now. So it's interesting to see Gorgug, like, as a barbarian artificer versus Marianne, who's, like, just a barbarian. That's why I want to see, like, what Fabian's counterpart is going to look like as, like, just a fighter and not like the fighter bard that he's going for. I also feel like they're very much being set up to be like, you know, like, you're saving the world, but the cost is like you don't get to enjoy your junior year, because the end of episode 4 was obviously them like having to leave this big party that was supposed to be like the whole thing of like Kristen's announcement for running for president and stuff like that, and it was gonna be her big moment and Fabian's big moment too, to be like the party house and all that, and they didn't even get to stay. So I feel like that's gonna really start to cause some strife. Like even Fabian was like, I don't want to go. Like he's kind of been the one, I think, most out of everyone that has been like, I'm tired, like I don't really want to do this, you know, and just wants to enjoy his junior year, and that's obviously conflicting with all the shenanigans they get into. I don't remember who it was, but one of them even said like when Riz wanted to investigate, it was Riz or Fig who wanted to investigate into Kipper Lily like right away. And I can't remember if it was Fabian, but I feel like it was either Fabian or Adine who was like, maybe let's just chill on like the mystery aspect for a little bit. Like let's just enjoy our first day. And so I feel like there's obviously, this is kind of causing that strife. Like I feel like that's what it's leading to, of like, you know, that's also what Riz has been desperately trying to hang on to, is like, you know, they're all friends and he doesn't want it to just be that like them just having these missions is what keeps them together as friends. Like he wants them to be real friends, and I feel like it does make sense for junior year when you think about it. I feel like sometimes friendships are tested in a way of like, you know, you realize kind of maybe one of you is more focused on like something else than the other one, and they change and shape in a way. Like I feel like some of my best friends I made as a junior, but the friendships that I had before that kind of fizzled out by junior and senior year, just because you get different interests and I think different focuses. Like my sports friends were really more focused on like their sports stuff and their scholarships, so we didn't have as much time to hang out. And then without the prospect of school, it's amazing how sometimes you just don't talk to people, you know? So I feel like that's what it's really being set up for, unfortunately. And there even was that moment of like insight into Riz that Brennan had him roll, where he was like, you know, even like as the rat grinders are doing this like dumb stuff, they're doing it together, you know? Like he doesn't have to like force someone to go to Bard class like poor Riz does with Fig and stuff like that. So I feel like Riz is gonna explode. I feel like Gorgug's gonna crack first. I feel like Riz is gonna hang on as long as he can, and then he's gonna get angry that it's like, I'm trying to do everything to keep everyone together and you guys like can't even be bothered. Well, actually, I do think Fabian's gonna be in there beforehand. I feel like Fabian's gonna blow up at the party itself and just be like, I'm done with this, like I just want to have fun, and kind of separate himself. Then I feel like Riz is gonna get angry, and then I feel like the girls are gonna try and keep it together. Kristen's going through some stuff though already, let's be honest. Cassandra like needs to chill. Like I do feel bad for Cassandra, but I was also seeing someone talk about how like Kristen is like a 16-year-old, 17-year-old girl. Like you can't put all your hopes and dreams and stuff on with that. Like that's just too much. I'm sorry. And it's unfair to Cassandra, but it's also unfair to Kristen. And then you have Kalina, who's like in the middle, kind of causing all the strife. So next episode is the fight at the mall, which I'm very excited to see, even though it looks like it's not going to be great, because it did look like there was some kind of in-party fighting at the end of them just being like, you know, like I'm over this or something like that, and they miss out on their party, which I'm sure is going to have repercussions. The way Brennan already even said, like, when Fabian chose to get ready for the party instead of going to owlbear practice, how he was like, Fabian chooses to skip practice. I was like, well, that's definitely going to come back to bite them in the ass. I feel like it's just like all those decisions, but like they feel more realistic decisions in a way, instead of like these fantastical stuff. Like even if it's set in that world, it's just those kind of decisions of like, oh, I don't actually have all the time in the world, and like there are consequences to my actions now. Like it's not cute anymore when I just like skip practice to go to a party. Like, oh, that actually has real life consequences and stuff like that. It's not cute when I blow off my schoolwork. Now I'm actually in trouble of like failing out of school and my party won't get to stay together. Like I feel like they're just growing up and kind of learning that more stuff of like the real life consequences of like, you know, like you feel like an adult in some ways, but you're still not an adult, but now people are also treating you with more responsibilities, and it's just this whole big thing. And I just feel like there's so much pressure. The episode was called like Under Pressure, and they're definitely doing a good job like building that pressure where they're all just gonna explode or crumble or crack. And then I feel like the rat grinders are helping along with that, being like, yes, let's break them apart. And it's just, I just want to protect them and be like, stop this all. Like, you guys all suck. They're great. They've saved the world. Back off. Just give them their degrees and let them graduate. So I'm really, really excited to see what's going to happen more, but I'm also really scared. This is only episode 4, and I feel like still so much has already happened, and already that, like, I know the game a little bit more now, right, than what I did freshman year. Like, I know how things that seem offhand come back later and have consequences. So now when they make certain choices, I'm not like, oh, that's just a choice they made. I'm like, why would you do this? This is gonna come back to haunt us. So yeah, if you haven't seen the episode, please feel free to let me know what you thought about it down below and what your theories are regarding like the rat grinders, the new teacher, specifically Henry, but also Porter, like how they just seem to be so on top of Gorga. That's driving me crazy. What you think like the fair will be like, because I have not forgotten about that, and how like Riz's mom is connected to that and Gorga's parents are. So I feel like there's all this stuff being set up, and when we look back in and see like how it's all connected, it's gonna be amazing. So yeah, thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!